figure out what you want out of life first.
A lot of people chase financial freedom and they build themselves a job that they actually didn't want.
What do you want, right? What do you want out of life? And once you do that, once you figure what that is, commit to it. Yeah, take that action. I mean, that kind of goes with the commitment.
You can do it while you're where you're at.
Welcome everyone to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
And I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we have Ashton and Chris Levarek. Welcome, guys. Glad you're on.
Thank you for having us. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you both for being on the Road Less Traveled Show. And I guess start off with, you guys can decide which order you want to answer this in, but if you could hear a little bit about both of you, what your initial career was, and then what you've transitioned to at this time. If you want to start, Ashton.
Yeah. So I spent the last 21 years in the military. I joined right out of high school. I did the war started. I was in the Coast Guard. I was a rescue swimmer for the Coast Guard, but then the war started and I decided I wanted a new challenge. And so I switched over to the Airforce Pararescue Jumper. So I've done that up until the 2020, and I retired in the height of COVID. But in 2018, Chris and I actually partnered to form Valkere Investment Group, and that's what we're doing now. So it's an investment group focused on real estate investing, apartment complexes, and luxury Airbnbs primarily. So that's kind of my career in a nutshell.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I'll go next. So, we're brothers. I'm the younger brother. My name is Christopher Levarek. Where did we start? So I went to Europe 2004, 2005 for school, dropped out, went to the military after that, and was a firefighter in the Air Force for about 4 years. Lived in South Dakota, which was cool. It was a Midwest. I'd never been there. Different experience. But then got out, went to school in Arizona, ASU, and did 12 years as an IT professional. So servers, networks, all that stuff. And then 2018, we started real estate. We started this company, and Ashton kind of explained what we do, but it's been fun.
Yeah, first I thought you were going to say you're 12 years at ASU. I'm like, oh, that's a good program. Yeah.
Took me a while. No. I've been going to school forever. It feels like it took me 2 years to finish at ASU, but
excellent. Yeah. Well, what you kind of touched on this a little bit about the high-end Airbnb, and then some of the multifamily. Is there like certain areas of the country you're looking at, or as far as the portfolio? Yeah. We follow. And I say Christopher kind of drives this. He does a lot of the research on this side, but, we follow where the jobs are going, where the people are going, and where there's a lot of recession resistant type of investment opportunities, right? Because that kind of growth will insulate you from inflation, will insulate you from recession, stuff like that. And then, of course, if you pick your asset correctly, it'll insulate you even more and probably make you money. So yes, we absolutely do focus. We focus on right now on North Carolina, Arizona, Texas, Florida, and we have one property in Ohio, actually. Okay, great. Yeah. And is it any difference for the high end rentals, the Airbnb side of it, as far as more touristy places, or?
Yeah. Our model is so there's kind of two models with short term rentals. We find. You got the person who's targeting the traveler, kind of like Motel 6 or, like the day-night traveler. And then you got actually the high-end vacation, what you think of typically with short-term rentals, most people think of is the vacation goer. And so we actually do focus on the vacation side of it because we actually like to go visit the properties, take a vacation ourselves. So we're looking at, we have one near Disney World. We haven't actually taken family there, but those are really popular right now. People always go to Disney World. And then we have 3 in Sedona, Arizona, which is, it's a small city. I think the 10,000 people live there. 3 million people visit it a year.
Right.
So big tourist area.
Yeah, I used to live in Scottsdale, and it was a great place in the summer to get away from the heat for a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get to, there's Prescott, Flagstaff, somewhere in there to escape a little bit of elevation.
Yes, it's great. I'm actually in Phoenix. I don't know if I mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Well, gentlemen, both, thank you for your service. Certainly appreciate all your efforts for the country. And, it's definitely a worthwhile cause. So thank you. As you guys think back, perhaps to your military days, or, Chris, maybe something in your IT world, is there a funny story that you can share that made you think and say, I think I really want to do something else?
Every day of my career? No.
You're so glad you went to school for it,
right? No. For me, actually, I really loved IT. I still do. I'm very analytical and tech, so I still do all the apps in our business and that kind of stuff. But yeah, like what I found is, when my 401k took a big dip in 2018. Actually interesting. They were raising the rates back then too, and it caused a dip as well. They only did like a quarter of a point or half a point or something like that before they backed out of it. But that's where I was like, we work so hard and we pay so much in taxes, and then we put away all this money in the 401k, and it doesn't look like it's going to be there when I get to 67 or wherever I'm supposed to retire at that age. They might even make it 70 at that point. And that was the eye opener for me was, what are other people doing to preserve wealth and keep it and even, compound it a little better. So I started looking into it. That was for me, the eye opener. So.
Excellent. Ashton, anything that you came across in your military days?
So I do have a funny story, and it ties into Chris's story actually. So 2016, if you look back at the news, a couple teachers were taken hostage in Kabul, Afghanistan. And I was part of the task force that went in to go find them and get them. And we're sitting under the helicopter. And I remember this. And at that point, I was a E7 Master Sergeant, 16 years in the military, 17 years in the military. So pretty high ranking at that point, team leader. But I was talking to this flight medic. He was on one of the helicopters we were going to be flying on. And he's talking about all this money he's making. And I'm like, how are you making this kind of money? Because the military doesn't pay guys like you that much, And he started talking about every time he got stationed in a new place, he would buy a multifamily property using the VA loan, right? And he would live in one unit and rent the others out. And at that point, he had 27 units. He was only 20, early or late 20s. He was late 20s at that point. And I'm talking to him, and I don't know why, but I was like, this is a really cool concept. And I started writing down everything he said. I didn't do anything with it. Mm-hmm. We went on, did everything we were going to do. I got home fast forward 2 years to 2018 is when Christopher kind of came and he's like, bro, I don't like this. I'm losing money in the 401k. I'm looking at moving into real estate. Mm-hmm. And I was like, tell me more. And he starts talking about it. I'm like, and I pulled up my notes because they were on my phone. And I'm like, yes, let's do it. And we kind of just, that was it. That was, we took we made a 90-day challenge to do our first deal, and we were off to the races there. So, the stars aligned, but with a lot of prodding from the universe, I guess.
That's very cool. I mean, my story's a little different in terms of how I got started. I was kind of, the heads down, busy professional, just taking care of family, putting my kids through private school and college and all that. And then I kind of was like, oh my gosh, I got to do something for my wife and I's future. Here we money in the 401k, of course, but at the same point in time, it wasn't anywhere where I thought I needed or wanted to be. So got to do something different. So,
yeah.
Well, it kind of sounds like
don't look at it right now.
What's that?
I said, don't look at the 401k right now.
Yeah.
That joke every now and then the resets, like 07, 08, the .com, it turns into the 201k versus the 401k when it cut in half there. It reevaluates in hindsight. Well, it sounded like some of that was kind of the alignment, like you said, of timing and everything with the decision to move into real estate. We kind of came together, organically between Christopher and you, Ashton, both you guys had the same ideas and just kind of rejoined on that. Was there anything that made you decide, like, is it multifamily? Is it fix and flips? Or how did you kind of decide on what asset class you wanted to be, or the high-end Airbnb, of course, what asset classes you wanted to be in?
I think, Christopher, you came up with the idea of multifamily at the beginning because you've done a little bit more research on the economies of scale. And that's how we started, right? I mean, we started with smaller multifamily. We did a fourplex first. Mm-hmm. But Chris, do you remember what you were reading at that time?
I mean, I was listening a lot to Bigger Pockets. My IT job at the time was a 45-minute commute, and through Phoenix with traffic. And I just remember listening to a ton of podcasts, but a lot of them hammered home how you can't really scale very well with single family. You just keep running into barriers with, okay, if I get 4 loans or I get 6 loans, well, I have 4 single families or 6 single families. Well, does that get me where I want to be? And then how, it's hard to manage. It's also, you're limited on the loan size. You're limited on what those are providing for income. So there was the idea of multifamily all the time where it's like, everybody kept saying, okay, well, you have one roof and you have economies of scale because you send one contractor there, but you can have multiple income streams from multiple people under the same roof. And I was like, well, that makes a little more sense. But it was more scary, right? Most people, I think, jump into the houses first because they have a house. Yep. And so it was scary. It took me I started learning in March of 2018 and only connected really on the topic with Ashton until it must have been June or May. So I needed some warming up to understand it. But a lot of the podcasts mentioned that economies of scale, easier to scale because you have multiple income under the one roof and you can manage that one location easier. And so it just resonated a little more with me.
Yeah, that makes sense. So guys, as you made this mental shift, okay, listen, we're going to go in this direction. We're going to go with the 90-day challenge. Like you said, I love that, by the way. Were there some obstacles you encountered along the way initially?
Yeah. I mean, there was a bunch of obstacles. I think probably the biggest one would be the mindset piece, or maybe not the mindset, but the understanding that when you're building a business, you don't, and you shouldn't try and do everything. And we've talked about this extensively on, in other blogs and other, I post a lot on social media and stuff, but that's what it is. It's like we get caught up thinking we have to do everything ourselves, and we have to know everything ourselves, that we have to know every, aspect of the business. And even at the beginning, I thought we had to be there every time the contractor showed up, every time the handyman, the plumber's going to show up just to check out the pipes. I got to drive an hour and a half to go check it out. You don't have to do that. In fact, you shouldn't do that. That's not how a good, business owner runs. If you look at, I love to use those guys that run Shark Tank. They are not in their businesses at all. They own their businesses, and they invest in businesses, but they're not in there, managing the day-to-day and doing all that. And really that was the aspect at first. We had to get past that. And then once you can get past that, all of a sudden it becomes this game of who, not how. And I read that book, and I read that book much later, and I think it's a great book to help people learn how to implement this. But we learned that pretty quickly, because if we wanted to go faster, further, if we wanted to do more, actually be profitable, we could not be trying to do everything ourselves. And so we started building teams, and that's what we got good at, is finding the right people and bringing them all together to execute on this business plan.
Nice. That's great. Yeah. I said that who, not how is on my to read list, and I keep telling it keeps coming up. So I gotta go make that commitment to do it. Read that book. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, as you came together and formed Valkere there, can you think back, looking back, what was one of your first victories that it kind of solidified that, we've made the right choices, the right path?
Yeah, that's a good one. Go ahead, Christopher.
First victories. I mean, I think for me, I often focus on the problem, which is interesting, and Ashton focuses on the solution, or not just solution, just the positive. I'm more like, okay, what's going wrong? In the beginning, we messed up a lot, but I think the win was really when we got done with the first project. We bought 2 duplexes the first time, and we bought them for $209,000. So both of them. They were old. They were 1940s, but and we fixed them up. We made mistakes, but I remember getting the appraisal back, and it was $480,000. And I was just like, what did we just do? we 4 times the value of these things, or doubled them, whatever. And I was just amazed at that was a win. It was, of course, we didn't make all that because we made a bunch of mistakes, but it was just amazing that we could do something so simple and double the value when we're working, jobs for not doubling our salary or not doubling.
Yeah.
We're coming in and we work so hard at those other things. And it took 2 months, to do that. It was just amazed me.
But it opened your eyes to possibilities, right? What could be done and what could be achieved through it.
Yeah.
And you say, even the mistakes, everybody makes mistakes starting out, right? The only people that never make a mistake or fail are people that never try anything. I mean, that's, there's always the sharpest critics, of course, but don't get very far. But so you learn from your mistakes, you learn the mistakes of others, and that's how you become an expert in your field.
But another thing, you guys were taking action. You got smart about what you were going into, but at some point in time, you took action. And by taking action, you're going to learn more from taking action than just reading about it in a book, right? You're going to learn more from, again, your notes. I love that about you took notes from your buddy in the military, the medic, and you still had them 2 years later. And I usually lose a note, even though I try to save it on my phone somehow, whatever. But anyway, But anyway, that, you went back to that and you kind of, read up and you got smart about how to go forward and proceed. And, and again, by doing, you learn more. So very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So guys, on your new path and what you're doing with the Airbnbs and some of these multifamily properties, et cetera, is there a funny story you can share, something along the way?
Funny story. Trying to think. So we do one of the things we incorporated in my family and then we started doing the business, and this is always fun, is we do a jar of, we call it a memory jar. And every time something good or funny happens, we write it down and put it in that memory jar. And then on New Year's, we'll review all those and, laugh about it and remember the year. And I don't know where we got that from, but we started doing it in the business as well. And so there's a jar of funny memories upstairs, but I'm trying to think of some really good ones. I don't know if we have any hilarious ones.
Hopefully that's bigger than the swear jar. The funny.
Yeah. We don't have the swear jar just yet. That would be full.
It's more of a 55-gallon drum, really, but
yeah.
It's a good technique. I advise people to do it because it does kind of it lets you know how far you'd come, but it also reminds you of the positive things you've done in your business. Again, like I'm an operations guy. I fix things. I like to fix the problem, and so you end up focusing on the problem a lot. But one funny one is my wife is very analytical like me. Ashton is more like the big visionary type and he gets in the way of like the detailed checklist people. And you're just like, so he'll come in with ideas of like, today we're buying a car wash, and you're like, actually, we don't even do that, but we're real estate people. And so like, we're always like toning Ashton back. And I think one time, Ashton was going off on one of his tangents, and me and Jamie never really agree with him. It's a good balance. So he's off doing his thing. And actually Jamie came in, my wife, and she's just like, that's actually a great idea. And we all kind of like turned and we were like, Jamie agreed with Ashton. So we had to put that one in the memory jar. It was just, we've had some really fun business calls because it's all family. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that gets in the way. Sometimes it's most of the time it's a lot of fun. We don't leave the call unhappy, but that was a fun one.
That's great. Yeah, it's good. A neat idea, that memory jar. Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
Well, where are you today in your journey? Like you said, you've gone to the multifamily, you've done the high-end Airbnb. I understand. Like, where are you now, and where's your path forward? Where are you looking to do? Expand both fronts of that? Take on another venture? Or?
Yeah, and I think I'm not. So it depends where people are and how this will apply to where they are on their journey, obviously. But at the beginning, I think one of the things that helped us be very successful and where we're going was clear about what we're doing. And we follow the traction model where we plan out to 3 to 5 years, and we do that every year. And then we also plan out our quarters and our months every year, right? And so
we were very intentional about everything we did. So the first year was learning. The first year in real estate was actually learning multifamily and buying as many multifamilies as it made sense. And then as we learned that, we're like, actually, if we want to grow faster, we need to bring in investors. And to do that, we needed credibility. So let's partner with other people. So the next 2 years was a lot of partnerships, building credibility. But what we realized was, you don't get a lot of cash flow when you're just doing it for door count for credibility. So that's when we started refining how we're doing deals, how we're partnering, how much we're going to make with a partnership. And then we also started focusing on the cash flow. And that's when we started bringing these luxury Airbnbs in. Okay. So the whole time it's been very focused, but it's also been very focused on having fun. And if we're not having fun, it's not worth it. And we need to go get other jobs. Right. So I think when people ask us, where are we going? That's where we're going. We're having a great time with it. We're able to create cash flow through the properties that we're making. We're able to retire both my brother, my wife, and then his wife from their W-2 jobs. So we're able to employ other people to work from home. And we set these Airbnbs up. And like this year, we just had our first retreat with the whole team, everybody except for one VA. Everybody was able to make it. And, we had to stay in the house that we bought, 1.3, it's probably worth like close to 2 to 4 million now, but it's a beautiful place. And we had this awesome retreat for a week. And like, you want to ask where we're going. Like it's constantly evolving and we're trying to live our best life and we're having fun with it. So.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any particular breakout, how you look at that? Are you looking to be basically 50-50 in the multifamily, a high-end Airbnb for cash flow versus equity growth, or is there some kind of ratio you look at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's two-sided coin there, right? So the short-term rentals require more management, which means, even though you may make more in cash flow, you have a little bit of management because we actually manage them as well. Okay. So we're building out a side of management for it. I've got a couple of Filipino partners that help in that regard. Mm-hmm. But so we're trying to keep that actually, like a 25-75. Keep it all into multifamily mainly because it's actually, when you get in the big apartments, as you probably know, that they're actually easier because your teams are bigger and they're more dependable. The partners that you work with are more dependable. The financing's easier. When you go to these little deals, you might be nitpicking things with lenders, nitpicking things with cleaners and property, your contractors, whereas you might not face those issues as much with a well-oiled big property management team, which we use like over 1 billion in assets. And so we're trying to simplify the business by not trying to do everything, but we do the short-term rentals for kind of that lifestyle investing, like he was talking about, and because they're fun to do. Like our team does like decorating them and visiting them and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you see one apartment complex, me and Ashton go visit them all the time. We go visit our properties, but it's not like our whole team will go there on site. And, there's another apartment. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. No, the idea of being able to invest in an area you like and happen to make revenue off the area that you like. And by the way, you get to go there, for your business purposes is a great idea. It's something that I see down the road as well. It's not our focus right now, but the idea, it's probably a personal investment rather than a Park Capital Partners investment. But again, that's definitely, I like the idea of that, being able to, go someplace that you own and you can enjoy as well. So very nice. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and so please, I would add too, for like if there's any beginners out there that are looking to getting into this. When you look at multifamily syndications, you're typically looking at a 3 to 5, maybe longer year hold. Mm-hmm. And the cash flow, I hate to say it, is not always there in the beginning for new investors, for new, real estate syndicators. And that's because you've partnered with so many people, you've given a preferred return, you're giving most of that cash flow away to investors that are investing in your property, right? Yes, you may make an acquisition fee. And if you're following like the Joe Fairless model, you have to do so many of those deals a year just to make the income that you want to hit, right? So for us, like we understand that, we saw that early on. And that's why we wanted to bring something that's heavy in cash flow. Like the Airbnb that we just completed is going to gross over $200,000 a year. So in cash flow around 130 to 150, depending on, how well we market it. So, that can make a difference. You get 4 of those, 5 of those, you get, that can definitely make a difference in your portfolio, in your cash flow, and take a lot of stress off of trying to do deal after deal after deal, just so you can get a profit in 3 to 5 years.
Right.
So yeah, something to think about. Now, the payout when you sell and refinance these large multifamily syndications is great. But again, you are waiting 3 to 5 years, unless the market appreciates really quickly, or you force the appreciation really quickly and can somehow sell in like a year, which doesn't happen often. But
no, it doesn't happen often. I mean, you're forcing appreciation by improving the properties and therefore being able to increase the rents. But at some point in time, you're right. You're still waiting several years for a nice payday. And if the market, works against you, or rates work against you, then, some of your profit gets eaten up. Right.
Yep.
So
it's a double-edged sword, right? If it's such a hot market that you can't help but sell, you have to turn around and buy something else. And that, unless you just go to a different town that still good growth matrix, but not as necessarily white hot as that sub market. But yes, you're always balancing that as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just takes a while to flip, 100 units, right? So if you buy a 100-unit apartment, this is something people don't realize. They're like, well, why can't I get my return right away? Well, you're not flipping houses. You have to wait till people move out to be able to renovate it, to be able to raise the rent to your new market rent. So that's why changing 100 units will take 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, because you have not renovated, your cash is low in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, a lot of times the taxes reset on sale. So you got that punch in the gut right away. So it takes a little while to dig out of that hole to be able to make the cash flow. And, and again, that's why you're typically aiming at about a 5-year hold on these properties. You need a couple, 1-2 years to kind of get the engine going. And then once you're going, you reap the rewards at for a couple of years, and then have a nice payday on the back end, expecting that everything works, with the economy and the ability to sell, but at some point in time, after that 5-year mark, after 7 for sure, you got to renovate again. Mm-hmm. So let's not do that. Let's sell before we have to spend a whole pile more money and take the returns down again. So yeah. So guys, I'm not sure whether you both have a thought or one of you could share, but is there something that you guys do in order to perhaps the business? Is there something you guys do to give back that you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. We're big fans. We call it impact investing. So every deal we do, a percentage of the profits goes to, we're looking at 2 nonprofits right now. One's for special operations veterans, and then the other one is for to fight human trafficking. Mm-hmm. And so, we have a giving fund where that goes in at the end of every year, and then it goes towards those nonprofits so we can, give back in some way. But we're looking at doing something like that in the future. That's my goal in the future. I'm trying to bring the team around to do it and find the right time and place to do it. But I would love to have a nonprofit that hosts, veterans and their families for some type of retreat like that as well. But yes, that's what we're focused on right now. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Was there something you've recently implemented in your business that's allowed you to scale faster and help you with the growth?
Yeah. And I hate to say, I'm 42 years old, retired from the military. I was not even allowed on social media, where you weren't allowed to have a social media profile because you're not allowed to share what you're doing in the military for the most part.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a 10x multiplier and you have value add to other people's lives, if you can add value to their life, get on there and start talking about it. Look at Grant Cardone, look at Gary Vaynerchuk, like these guys, their whole business revolves around them talking on social media. And essentially people don't want to work. They don't work with you. They don't want to invest with you. They don't bring you deals unless they know, like, and trust you. Right. And the trust part is a big part, but you have to get out there and get in front of people and talk about what you're doing and show your process and show who you are. And when people align with you, we've had people invest with us just because, they heard we were military. They align with who you are, right? People want to see a good deal. They want to see returns, but at the end of the day, it's about the people, right? And I say this all the time, like you could have the best asset class and the best market, but if you don't trust the people that you're investing with, like it's going to be a terrible 5-year hold for you. You can be asking a ton of questions and giving them a bunch of problems. So I don't know. I think social media is the 100x, 10x, 100x multiplier, if you use it properly.
Mm-hmm. What LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter,
all of them,
all platforms across? Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, it gets to be, we divide it up a bit. We have an assistant who helps with the Facebook and Instagram posts, and those go out, sporadically in the week. But then Ashton manages the TikTok, and he does Instagram too. And you do a lot of it, actually. And then I don't do much. I'm on LinkedIn, and I write on Bigger Pockets. I do a lot of posts on Bigger Pockets. But operationally, I would say, like, it's funny, he goes straight to what he does. I'm thinking like all these different things we've done in the business over the years. But also, I mean, tools that we've done too. One I'm really exploring right now, we do a lot of active campaign. There's something called Mail Reach, which is really interesting. It's warming up your email address, warming up your domain. And, that's something I'm exploring now, but it increases your email to land not in spam or promotions. There's other versions of it, but basically it's creating conversations with your email and some other random email inbox it controls. And so you can watch as your deliverability rate goes up. Very interesting. It's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, interesting. Excellent. Yeah.
Well, good. So, guys, as you think about it, in your past, you've had some couple things you've done in different fields, and now you're in a great area. What advice would you give to somebody who's considering making a path change?
I just made the path change in March. I just quit my IT job that I had for about 12 years. I'd say, make sure you're moving into a space that you want to move into, you're going to be happy into. A lot of people chase financial freedom and they build themselves a job that they actually didn't want. And so if you, kind of like explore it, talk to other people who are doing what you want to do. And if that still excites you, then go work in that field. I'd also say wait until you can, have some level of income from that side hustle or that side passion or side hobby or whatever you're going to do before you make the transition. It's a good thing to, I love real estate because you can kind of do it on the side and dip your toe in and either fail and learn and keep going. And if it's a side hustle, you have income from somewhere else supporting you, but you don't need to like quit your job, quit everything and go try to flip houses day one. Like you can dip your toe in and explore and not lose your shirt. And even if you do lose your shirt, you can really come back, which is cool too. But, you don't have to go work at a company to figure out how it's going to be. You can do it while you're where you're at. So I would just say, dip your toe in and see how it's going. Ashton probably says burn all the bridges, but
I agree with you, Christopher, but I think I would say figure out what you want out of life first, because I actually really enjoyed the military and I had a blast doing it. If I had to do it over, I'd probably still the same career path. The only difference is I'd start investing earlier. That's all. But I think that's where people go wrong. They look at what everybody else is doing and they don't know what they want. What do you want, right? What do you want out of life? And once you do that, once you figure what that is, commit to it. Like there's no going back. And by that, I don't mean burn the bridges, but I do mean commit to it, learn it, talk to other people that are doing it, right? Get out there, maybe invest in other people's deals. We've seen plenty of people be successful because they started investing in other people's deals just to see how they would go. And learn as much as they could along the way. And then the last one is, take that action. I mean, that kind of goes with the commitment. When you're committed to it, the action piece takes care of itself. Like you, when you're committed, you take that step. I'm going to read this book because I want this for my future. Right. But the flip side of that is I think a lot of times people, like Chris said, they're building these, they're putting their ladder up on the tree of financial freedom. And then they get to the top and they're like, well, this was the wrong tree. I actually have a job and now I can't leave and I'll lose all my money. And be absolutely clear about what you want and get really focused before you take action. Because otherwise, you're just going to be taking unfocused, or action that doesn't get you anywhere closer to where you want. And, we've made our mistakes for sure, but that is one of the things that we've been really good at refining every year is, where do we want to go this next 365 days? Where do we want to be? And what over the next 90 days will help us know that we're on track for that 365, for that, 3-year, 5-year goal. So man, we get into some arguments about it too. Like, no, we need to do more syndication. No, we need to focus on active campaign more. And like, what really brings in, but those are the conversations you need to have, is like, what really moves the needle, and get clear about that.
Strategy first, tactics second. So a lot of people focus on that problem first and they go tactical, and they're just like, but is that getting you to that larger end picture? And so you start with the strategy first, start asking the questions first. What makes me happy? What will get me there? Dig into those answers. Then you can focus on like the tactics to get there. Yeah.
Nice.
We talk about the focus part too. I think is, critical, like you're saying, even within real estate, the general umbrella of that, we always talk about the shiny penny syndrome kind of, somebody will go to their local RIA meeting and, talk about note investing, and then it's fix and flips. And then it's, so and every speaker's, excited about what they're doing. So they sell that and everybody, gets excited. They just jump from one ping pong to the next thing. And then they never really develop any depth in anything. And a year later, you got all these courses at home and you've read some of them and no one's implemented. But once you, like I said, I think it's great to get an idea what's out there, but then as you're saying, focus on it and go deep and develop that level of subject matter expert in whichever field you're diving into. I think is critical on your future success.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, what's the best way for our listeners to be able to reach out and learn more about what you guys are doing and what you have going on coming up?
Yeah, our website is the best way. It's valkeregroup.com. And we've got, I think I've written over 250 blogs now at this point. A lot of articles on there. Ashton runs a podcast. All the links are on there. We try to keep it simple. So check us out. You can subscribe to our social media. We're on social media, same stuff.
And that's spelled Valkere. It's actually an anagram of our last name.
Oh, okay.
It's not the traditional Valkere.
Right.
Okay.
We'll add links below in the show notes to those sites. And Ashton, what was the name of your podcast?
The Art of Winning.
The Art of Winning. Okay. We'll put a link to that as well down there. We want to, Ashton and Christopher, we want to thank you both for being on the Road Less Traveled show. We really appreciate the conversation, enjoyed it, and wish you continued success.
Thank you so much.
Good to be here.
Been a blast. Yeah.
Ashton, Christopher, really want to thank you for being on. Certainly appreciate your time. And we'd also like to thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like Ashton and Christopher Levarek today. We also wanted to thank Park Capital Partners that sponsors the show. And we remind everybody of two things. First of all, we have the Park Capital Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund that's open today for investments. And initially as well, we also have the Park Capital Partners Foundation, that is a 501(c) nonprofit that Bill and I created last year. And a couple things about that. First, Park Capital Partners funds the foundation, so all the money given goes to do its best work to help others. Second, we donate personally. We also donate a portion of our profits. And then finally, when our investors invest with us, we make a donation to honor that investor to a pre-selected list of 15 different charities that they can choose from. It includes things like Wounded Warrior, as well as Operation Underground Railroad to prevent sex trafficking. And that's something we do to give back. We believe super important about it. We've all been blessed in our lives, and we think it's a duty and a responsibility to give back to help others. So thank you everybody for joining. And remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.